Good evening, Assalamu alaikum, ladies and gentlemen. Today, you guys are back with me on another awesome show. And actually, the beauty of today's show is that I have a soul guest with me, and she's a holistic nutritionist and natural healing. And I am so excited to have her because it's such a unique topic that we needed to have her completely solely by us. Thank you so much, our dear guest Noor Salim for joining us.
Assalamu alaikum. Jazakallah khair. Thank you for having me on your show. It's an honor and pleasure to be here. And I pray it's a benefit to everybody listening, inshallah.
Inshallah. I'm going to start the show by, giving the importance of our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, peace be upon him, that he used to say about, food is such a nurturer for our soul and body. And he used to believe in, having just enough, which is good for you, or not as less that it's going to make you, unhealthy. So a little bit about your background, Noor, is that, you're a holistic nutritionist and licensed and superfood. We're going to talk about that too. So please explain us about your background. I know that you're coming from Michigan, but our audience wants to know in detail. So please go ahead.
Yes, alaikum. So, yeah, I'm a certified holistic health coach. Alhamdulillah, I've been, doing this for over 7 years now, and I basically, work with clients one on one with my different programs. Sometimes it can just be a one-time consultation too for different remedies of things that many people experience today. It can be, it can be infertility. It can be food intolerance and allergies, having reaction to food. It can be one of the most common weight loss, headaches, migraines, so many different things, subhanAllah, that many experience. And I basically help them get on a plan of natural healing. And my focus is the Sunnah. And that's why my books are called the series of Sunnah Superfoods. And basically, I try really hard, growing up, the story behind my work and what brought me to this point is, subhanAllah, growing up, my parents, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless them, constantly, on daily basis, would encourage my siblings and I to have things like dates and olive oil. And of course, one of the most common, the black seed with honey mixture every day. And they would remind us that this is from the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and how there's so much benefit in it. And this, as I grew older and I became interested in nutrition, I told myself I must make it imperative upon me to link it in with our beautiful deen. Because whatever you're dealing with in life, whether it's finances or relationships or anything at all, if you really want the optimum results and the happiness and prosperity, then we must go back to the two guides, the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So that really encouraged me to do so much research, because there are so many treasures in the Sunnah, so many, whether it's, the portion control and something I talk about and how that can help one not only lose weight, but decrease your risk of so many diseases, or how you can lose weight naturally without counting calories, obsessing, feeling hungry, feeling deprived, all these different restrictions you see today. And subhanAllah, and most importantly, naturally healing your body from within. Because we're often taking medication, we're trying to bandage symptoms when we can really look at the root cause. And with food, with natural healing, with good habit, you can subhanAllah reverse that or even prevent so many diseases. So, alhamdulillah, throughout the years, I also give lectures and workshops, in group coaching classes at so many conventions across the nation. And alhamdulillah, I also published my books, Sunnah Superfoods, as you can see in the back, Sunnah Superfoods for kids, and then 2 baby versions. They're basically ABC books for your babies to start developing, recognizing their fruits and vegetables.
Awesome, subhanallah, such a beautiful work. And actually, I'm so overwhelmed because you are touching the whole body inside out in many different ways. So you're talking about, not even natural healing from inside out. It's not even limited to allergies, migraines, food, intolerance, and irritability in the mood,
Yeah.
weight loss and gain, and thinning of hairs, and infertility and insomnia. Even, I myself suffer from migraine big time, and I take pills, because by the end of the day after work, it's actually such a habit. Before Aisha, I take to Excedrins. So by the time I give time like by 2 hours. So my question, let's go ahead and get started, because you cover so much, and I hope that we can cover within this 1 hour, and we will be taking comments from our audience. There's a number that I want to remind everyone that they can call. It's 347-439-2916. And you guys can call and ask your question. If you don't want to say your name, that's fine too. And if you want to say your name, you're most welcome. So, what is the connection of food with faith and happiness? What can be done to boost your mood and constantly? Because sometimes there are certain things, like I drink coffee, I'm addicted to coffee. If I don't get the coffee in the morning, I see by 10 o'clock I'm a little cranky. And that is the only thing that I believe, to be honest, Noor, that if I don't drink coffee, my energy is not at the level.
Yeah. So the thing is about coffee, because I'm sure maybe 90% of people listening drink coffee. SubhanAllah, oftentimes we have this impression that coffee is extremely bad. Definitely, it is good to, not let our body get used to anything where we can't go on without it. But in terms of the health benefits of coffee, in and of itself, coffee is not bad. It's usually everything that you have added to coffee. So if someone's going to their local coffee shop and they're getting a coffee full of flavoring and all these different shots of caramel or French vanilla, and then topping it with whipped cream, and then it basically, and of course not to forget the sugar or artificial sweeteners put in there, it takes away the benefit of the coffee and it becomes something that's not really healthy. But in general, coffee is, there are some studies that find whether it's cognitive health benefits or even heart health benefits from coffee itself. So that's something that I'm sure would make many listeners happy. But in terms of boosting the mood, and generally, inshallah, and we can talk about it shortly, I would focus on a diet really high in healthy fat. Things like natural fats, avocados, olive oil, walnuts. All these foods have been linked to boosting your neurotransmitters. So basically, you're going to see a big difference in your mood versus having a diet high in sugar, refined sugar, even breads and things like that, empty carbs, typically have a negative effect on our mood.
Okay. So I was surfing around your amazing work and looking at, and I see the books behind you.
Yeah.
And you have written down a couple of the books. And the book which would really interest me was, the Superfood for Babies, A and Z, Eating healthy, and which I really appreciate. Note that you usually, when book writers start a book, they pay more attention on adult audience, or youngsters, on teenagers, but you started from the core, because starting from making healthy habits from a younger age is the most important thing. I absolutely appreciate that. So tell me about, why did you think of writing a book, and what's the story behind A to Z, if you can share.
Yeah, so subhanAllah, my first book, The Sunnah Superfoods, that's the original one. And yes, it's focused typically for, I'd say, young professionals and adults of any age, all the way up to, 100 plus. And subhanAllah, that book focuses on basically the Sunnah superfoods, different superfoods that oftentimes are overlooked, how they can reverse so many of the chronic conditions people are going through. And basically I list on every single page, for example, olive oil, and I would list how to take it, which olive oil you should avoid, because the other thing is many of the healthy foods we have today are often not in their best state. So olive oil can be mixed with canola oil and you're consuming it thinking that you're having something pure. So I share important tips like that, and then the best way to consume it. So is it on an empty stomach? Is it consuming it with something else? Is it in the morning, at night? And then I share, different remedies. It helps with hair loss. It helps with heart health conditions, cholesterol, etc. And the second part of the book is, I have over 94 recipes in there. All have been approved by young eaters, older eaters, picky eaters, people who love dessert. Alhamdulillah, many of my clients can attest to, the recipes of brownies and cookies and all these different things that don't leave you feeling tired after you're eating it. You can still be on a quote unquote healthy diet and not feel like you're deprived, which I think is so important. And then I also have different guides for oils, different guides for sugars and sweeteners, and different tips you can use, as well as some meal guides. But then subhanAllah, after next came in the picture was the A to Z baby books, while I was also working on the kids book, because having a younger sister 15 years younger than me really allowed me to observe, the influence that sometimes friends can have. Sitting in school and her friends have Cheez-Its, but she's eating her healthy broccoli or mensa or something that's like homemade and cooked versus junky food or fast food. And you notice that you see also vending machines and all these different things around. Or most importantly, you enter the market and you see all these different marketing tactics aiming at children. So you see Toy Story or your child's favorite cartoon and SpongeBob on their cereal, on their yogurt, on all this processed junk food. And subhanAllah, it really affects children, and there's billions of dollars that go into into this whole marketing aspect to influence children. So that, subhanAllah, throughout the years, just watching her, grow older, and she herself now, subhanAllah, at some point, of course, she used to be a very picky eater, even finding things like parsley on her food, I'm not eating it. And I came to the point of putting healthy things inside her food, like her pumpkin mac and cheese sauce, that you can find the recipe in the book. And she, of course, found out, this was many years ago, and she lost her trust in my food for a while. But now she's the one who sends me videos. I'm in New Jersey now, and she would send me videos from back home telling me, oh, look at these crackers, look at the ingredients, what's disodium phosphate, why is it in my crackers, subhanAllah. So that allowed me to realize she really developed much in terms of wanting to be healthier, mashallah. And subhanAllah, I put my head with her and said, you know what, you're gonna help me write the kids book. And she did. She put in so many of the activities. You can find a lot of the recipes in there too. Of course, the pumpkin mac and cheese, Leanne's pumpkin mac and cheese is in there. And we also talk about different ways. It's all child based. The level of reading, it's for aimed at kids. And there's a lot of activities in there about the body, the amazing miracle of the body that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has bestowed upon us. And it has a lot of different things children can learn, and inshallah it can stick with them, because really healthy habits begin early. Yes, I always tell my clients, if I get a client come and tell me, look, I've been eating this for this many years, or I have this health condition, can you help me? And most of the time I always remind people it's never too late. It's never too late to reverse the chronic pain you have. It's never too late to change habits you have. It's never too late to get off medication. Of course, it takes effort. It takes, a lot of passion and motivation. But it's also best to try to prevent. The Prophet ﷺ reminds us to take care of 5 things before 5. And one of them is to take care of our health before our sickness. So if you can, and if you have the knowledge, if you have the ability, as much as possible, try your best to teach your children at a young age to develop better habits. It will help them in their future, inshallah. And then the A to Z books are basically ABC books with different fruits. So like basically on the A page, you find all the fruits and vegetables that start with the letter A, and then, going on, and then also available in the Arabic version.
Okay. So I was looking at your, banana muffin recipe that you shared, and I never realized that, because, when you were putting on the ingredients, there was one ingredient which really shocked me. It said, baking powder, aluminum free. I had no idea that baking powder has aluminum in it.
Yeah, and subhanAllah, aluminum is most of the baking powder, unless it's labeled aluminum free, does contain it, and it's found to be very toxic for our cognitive health. So it's definitely something I recommend. Sometimes it's the small things that subhanAllah can make a big difference.
Definitely, but as you said that with marketing, and people don't want the marketing companies would not want that to be known, and I had no idea that it can ever be possible that we heard about it's in the deodorants, but not in the food item.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, subhanAllah.
Yes. So let's talk about I know you said that for an example, eating empty and keeping your stomach empty. Many of people have this bad habits, just going to work or school without eating anything, and then they stay empty for a long period of time. And then by the time they eat something, the agitation is already high, the sugar has dropped, and then people getting, and let's talk about being diabetic in the same aspect.
Yeah, so definitely, subhanallah, you do find a lot of people turning to things like intermittent fasting now, or trying things like, and it does work with many people and they find many results. And subhanallah, fasting in and of itself, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us, "In tasumu khayran lakum in kuntum ta'lamun," that if you were to fast, it is better for you. And subhanallah, today research is coming out, and again, you see it, people raving about it, like, oh, this doctor said that we can do intermittent fasting and I'm going to lose weight and I'm going to have better digestion and better sleep and all these different things, subhanallah. And again, I always try to remind myself and others that let's look back to the Quran Sunnah first. Didn't we find that in there first, subhanallah? So that's just one note to keep in mind. But in terms of eating habits, definitely what I do recommend is trying your best to have healthy, high protein, high fat meals, and in smaller portions throughout the day. So instead of having a huge breakfast and then not eating for 6-7 hours and then saying I'm just gonna save my appetite for dinner, definitely that causes moods, your moods just fluctuating. You find, like you said, the blood sugar levels are dysregulated. So it's better to have smaller portions. This gives you energy versus eating so much that you feel tired, because subhanallah, that's also something, a misconception that many have. You find it especially in Ramadan at suhoor time, right? Where everyone's having that pre-dawn meal before fasting and we're overeating, thinking it's going to be stored with us all day. But as I remember Sheikh Muhammad al-Sharif was telling us, we're not camels. Our body doesn't store food like camels store water to go on for hours. So the best thing to do is have smaller portions, high fat, high protein. Let it get you through a few hours. Having healthy snacks throughout, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But to go on the concept of having huge meals and then starving yourself for a few hours in between is probably not the best route. Allahu alam.
Yes, that definitely. The next question I have is to raise, the raise of dairy products and gluten-free has become such a big, popularity in 21st century, and people are talking about it. So should we really avoid them, or is it just, it's just false alarm?
Yeah, that's an amazing question, and this actually comes up so many times in different lectures and workshops, and even with my clients. So overall, let's start with gluten. So the first thing is that subhanallah, there is much benefit in people avoiding gluten. And the thing is, even if someone doesn't have celiac, even if someone's not gluten intolerant, they don't see instant reaction. As one of my teachers was mentioning, subhanallah, because of the way the wheat is grown today, it's the hybrid wheat versus how it was many years ago, the way our body reacts to it is not the same. So he was mentioning that even if you're not gluten intolerant, you don't have celiac, slowly it's destroying your intestines, and you're gonna become intolerant, or you're gonna possibly become intolerant to other things. Sometimes the body develops, once you get, for example, leaky gut syndrome, and it can be due to having gluten and other allergens. The body starts to react to natural things. So you can be eating a healthy fruit or vegetable or even spices sometimes, and your body's reacting. So in terms of gluten, I do recommend as much as possible to avoid it and stick with, alhamdulillah, there's so many options you can find today. You can still have healthy, clean pasta. And if anyone wants resources, because often you hear things like, okay, what do I eat now if I can't have this and I can't have gluten and I can't have sugar? You can go to my website under resources. I share so many options of gluten-free pastas or alternatives of things I trust. And that takes us into the next point, though. Just because something is labeled gluten-free or dairy-free, it does not mean it's healthy. You see pasta, for example. I remember a client once, after we decided that it's best for her to go gluten-free, and she was doing an elimination diet. She found that she went and bought her own pasta, and she started telling me that she's getting stomach problems and bloating and all these different digestive discomfort. So I told her, send me a picture of the ingredients. And it had one ingredient, and that was corn. But the thing is, because the pasta wasn't organic, the corn was clearly genetically modified, and the body's not digesting it properly. So just because something's labeled gluten-free, or you're getting gluten-free bread, it doesn't mean it's automatically healthy. Especially things like cookies and crackers and all these different things. Unfortunately, there can be a lot of sugar in there, a lot of preservatives, a lot of chemicals that you don't want to be putting in your body. But generally speaking, you can see much benefit in removing gluten from your diet. And same thing with dairy. A lot of people today are intolerant to dairy because of the hormones, because of the way, all these different things we're finding. The process is much different. The antibiotics that they're given, it's just unbelievable. So if you were to, have dairy and you feel like you're okay tolerating it, then I would recommend as much as possible getting organic. This helps you to make sure you're not getting any RBST hormones, any antibiotic traces, genetically modified traces from the feed either. So that would be my advice. If you were to go dairy free, or at least limit your dairy as much as possible, you will see much benefit, inshallah, on your health. And then if you feel like I'm okay with it, I don't see a reaction, I feel like I need the calcium, whatever your reason may be, although you can get calcium from other sources without feeling deprived, my advice would be to look for organic and look for whole milk or whole milk yogurt and cheese as much as you can as well.
Oh, okay. That's such a good point, because there's just an understanding that it should be fat-free milk or 2% milk.
Yeah.
And then I guess we are missing out those nutrients. So I'm going to take some comments here. Salahuddin is saying, Assalamu alaikum, Sister Noor, and, Sister Amber. I pray to Allah for the good health. I would recommend my friends, to watch the show and the good practice. So there's a question here: which food is beneficial for kids when they are choosy about fast food, like fried chicken or tenders pop?
So my response to that would honestly be to make it at home. And if you take a look at the kids book, it's actually, I have 2 different recipes in there for chicken tenders, because I know it's one of kids' favorite, especially at school or especially at fast food, when they have chicken strips and chicken nuggets that's loaded with things you don't want to be putting in your child's body. When you look at the ingredients in fast food, the number of chemicals and preservatives and the hormones and the very low quality of the ingredients used, you would not be feeding it to them, subhanAllah. But because we don't see the ingredients, we don't see the process in front of us, we often just see the aftermath of a crispy piece of chicken that looks great. We don't see a big deal. So my advice was to try your best to make it at home as much as possible, and let your kids get involved. The 2 recipes I share, one of them you bake in the oven, the other one you can just you do it with olive oil or avocado oil. I'm sorry. You can pan sear it. It comes out very crispy. I had kids try it. It's approved. So your kids can get involved and also enjoy the process. So that would be my advice. You can grab a copy of Sunnah Superfoods for Kids on Amazon.
Oh, okay. Awesome. Please, follow Sister Noor on the Instagram. It is running on our, ribbon. And, I myself looked at the books today because, I know you were coming in, and it's a very reasonable price, and the information is amazing. Yeah, thank you. The follow-up question that Mr. Salahuddin have, that they don't eat vegetables or regular food, which we eat. So it's about habits. Go ahead.
Yeah. So definitely. So one tip I can share with that, it might work, it might not. I did find many people found this, clients, when this was something that they were struggling with, having their children develop healthy habits. And one thing that I brought that came to mind, subhanAllah, the same way that we see, your child's favorite cartoon character, SpongeBob or Minnie Mouse or, Elmo on, box of cereal or box of, sometimes even they're put in the fast food meal. So your kid sees, oh, I get a free toy with my Happy Meal. So my advice would be is, the next time you go grocery shopping, take some cute stickers. If your child loves Elmo, take Elmo stickers with you. Put it on that broccoli, put it on the, the butternut squash, put it on the different fruits and vegetables, and take it home and tell your kids, today we're going to have butternut squash SpongeBob with, broccoli Elmo or something. And this really can help kids say, oh, you know what, this is exciting. I see my favorite character on the sticker on the food, the same way that it works with, unhealthy junk food. So that's one thing. And, this often, if this doesn't work, sometimes, especially at a very young age, you'll just have to find a way to put, healthy things in your child's food. For example, the macaroni and cheese story, that I mentioned earlier about my sister, it started with me making a cheese sauce because she loved mac and cheese. And I made a homemade cheese sauce and I put pumpkin in there. And because the color, you can't tell. And you can absolutely not tell with the taste. And it worked. And she was only 7 years old and she enjoyed her macaroni and cheese. And now she makes her mac and cheese. But of course, she has trust issues with the pumpkin still.
Awesome. That's a beautiful story. Actually, I remember when my kids were younger and I wanted to put greens in them. So I used to put the spinach in the brownies, and they never knew until today they would know.
Yeah. Sometimes you have to take that route. You can make, yeah.
Yeah. And it makes the brownie moist as well.
Yeah, yeah.
So we have Faizul Hussain Farhan watching from Bangladesh, and it's actually 4:22 a.m. So thank you
Oh
so
wow.
much for watching us. It's not even Fajr time there. So thank you.
Yeah.
We really appreciate you watching us. The next question I have here is, how can we naturally regain our energy and have it last for all day?
Yeah. So definitely it's a general question. But overall, because, usually if I get anything specific, whether it's like a health condition or a health, situation in general, every single person is different. It can be based on your current health condition. It can be based on your past health condition. It can be based on your habits, your sleep, your coffee habits, your food habits, etc. But in general, trying your best to avoid processed food. So avoiding things like refined sugar, processed sugar, artificial sweeteners, breads, pastas, all these empty carbs. Typically, they drain your energy. They make you feel sluggish. They make you feel tired. Not to mention, they also affect your mood. They leave you cranky during the day.
Mhm.
So my advice is to have a high protein, high fat meal as much as possible. Focus on eating healthy fats. Eating fat doesn't make you fat. Don't worry about that. Thinking it's going to be a consequence. Eating healthy fats like olive oil, salmon, avocados, nuts, seeds, without worrying that, this is going to make me gain weight, it's going to cause cholesterol problems, as that's a myth. And also having healthy proteins and trying to, if you're having grains, look for whole grains, things like brown rice, quinoa, pastas made with clean ingredients and stuff like that.
Okay. I was, when I was looking at the, I want to go back to your main approach of, first of all, I want to ask you the name of your, nutrition. How did that came? Because it's, is it from your name, or, it's what's the reason behind it?
Yeah, so upon subhanallah, over 7 years ago, when I was, alhamdulillah, when I got my certification and I started doing my health coaching and speaking and such. And I was obviously looking at different suggestions for business names. And my brother, may Allah bless him, actually, he's the one who came up with it. And he's like, how about nutrition? Your name is Nur, and my name, because it means light.
Mhm.
And so the concept, the whole concept behind it was the light to eating right. So, because of my name, and it just worked out that nutrition fit in with nutrition, and that's how it became, subhanallah.
That's amazing. It's beautiful, and it's actually, such a guidance behind it. Which, when your religion and everything comes, together, there's such a blessing in it.
Yeah, alhamdulillah.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask, because when I was looking at your recipe, I have to tell you, Noor, today you have educated me just by looking at your recipes, and
Oh, alhamdulillah.
it has made me realize that, oh my god, there are things that we don't even pay attention and don't even know, like pasteurized egg. I had no idea about that.
Yeah.
And cold pressed avocado oil, and that palm tree sugar. I knew about the palm tree sugar. So but I want to talk about the pasteurized egg, because that's new to me.
Yeah. So when it comes to buying eggs in general, I definitely recommend as much as possible to look for, organic, and even, so basically you start out with, eggs that are just regular. And unfortunately, because of, again, the antibiotics, the hormones, the very unhealthy conditions, that if you just look at any documentary on health, you can see, the hens and the very unhealthy conditions, and how 80% of antibiotics are in the US are given to, livestock, to the cows, to hens, and the cattle. And this has a huge effect when once you come to consume the meat, the dairy products, the eggs. It has, the traces of it, and it also affects our health. And not to mention, once you look for organic certified eggs, or on top of that is pasture raised, which means that, it's normal roaming. So the hens are, running around eating grass. They have a high omega-3 diet. And when you crack open those eggs that are, for example, pasture raised or high in omega-3, you can see that the color is a deep orange. And this is actually a good sign. So if your egg yolk is yellow, it means that the diet is of the the livestock is not very healthy. Versus the deep, nice orange color, this is actually a good sign that it's high in omega-3 fatty acids, and it also has other benefits too, more vitamin E and vitamin D naturally. So that's something to keep in mind when purchasing eggs as much as you can. If you can't find pasture raised, although many stores do sell it now, you can find it at a lot of supermarkets, Whole Foods, or even other local smaller markets, or going to a local farm, which is probably the best thing to do. You go there, you see the farmer themselves, you see the condition, and if not, then at least looking for organic would be a better option. Allahu alam.
That's such a good tip. When I never paid attention on the eggs, but I know my daughter did say that some British recipes do talk about the brighter the egg yolk is, the purer it is, but I did not put two into two together.
Yeah.
And we don't realize this, the color is the idea behind behind the purity.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So another follow-up question from our audience is, sometimes doctor advise not to take carbs. We Asian usually include carbs in meals. What do you recommend in place of carbs?
Yeah. So for whatever reason, I'm not sure of the reason why this person was recommended to avoid carbs. It can be different health condition, but generally speaking, having a high fat, high protein meal. So for example, one sample meal can be either grilled chicken or grilled salmon with maybe potato balls on the side. Sweet potatoes are much lower in carbs, higher in a lot of benefits. Or having quinoa. Quinoa is an amazing replacement for rice. It's gluten-free. It's high in protein. It has all the amino acids, natural amino acids. It's really incredible superfood. So having quinoa instead of rice, having whole grain pasta made of, you can find pasta that's made of brown rice or made of quinoa or made of other healthy grains, and having a lot of vegetables. So healthy fats and healthy protein, and having also your intake of vegetables. That would definitely leave you full, because if you're not having a lot of carbs but you're also not eating enough protein and fat, you're going to feel hungry throughout the day. You might even feel cranky. You might feel like your body's deprived. So that's my advice. Having things like olive oil, for example, take it on an empty stomach if you can in the morning. You can find a lot of benefit from that, keeping you full throughout the day.
Oh, okay. So then you do recommend, like, in the morning, first thing in the morning, like how much olive oil would be better?
So it depends, case by case, depending on someone's health condition. But for example, if a client I'd have in the past that would have high cholesterol levels, or high blood pressure even, and taking olive oil raw without cooking it, without heating it at all, as that destroys the benefits. Taking just 1 tablespoon a day should help one see results. And of course, that's with consistency. Taking it daily. Taking on empty stomach has health benefits if someone's able to handle that. It's strong on their stomach, but you can take it. It's definitely really beneficial, inshallah.
Okay. So just a follow-up thing that you just said, that heating olive oil destroyed the benefits. So does that mean that we should not be cooking with olive oil?
Yeah. So in my book, subhanAllah, I have a whole section with a chart on the different oils, which oils are very inflammatory and cause so many health problems we see today. And unfortunately, it's oils that most people, like every single lecture I've been to in the past 7 years, I would ask this question: who uses different oils? And I just get everyone to raise their hand just to see. And subhanAllah, many people don't know, for example, that canola oil or corn oil or soybean oil or vegetable oil are extremely inflammatory. So I share different inflammatory oils to avoid. And then I also talk about the healthy oils like olive oil that you shouldn't cook with, because it has a very low smoke point. And thus, when you turn up the heat, about 275 to 300 degrees, you're destroying all the benefits. And it's basically taking away the purpose of consuming it. My recommendation, instead of cooking with olive oil, you can, if you're using very low heat, there's no problem with it, or just put it on your food after. So if you're going to make a stir fry, for example, you can use a little bit of avocado oil, and then afterwards you can put your olive oil on the top. You can use things like butter. Many people have a misconception that butter is extremely unhealthy or it causes high cholesterol, and this is not the case. So using high smoke point oils like avocado oil, and there's a few other I mentioned in the book, instead of olive oil, is definitely something I do recommend.
What about ghee? Because ghee is made out of
clarified butter.
Yes. So
Yeah.
would you recommend that?
Yeah, so that would be exactly like butter. And, again, people have a conception that they're both unhealthy or they cause cholesterol. And, science came out after, basically, long story short, and I talk about the research in my book. Science came back out after, the whole claim that, these different foods with saturated fat, like butter, like meat, like egg yolks, cause high cholesterol. And they came out saying this is not the case. It's actually trans fat and processed fat that actually does that. So having butter or ghee is actually, absolutely healthy. It's satisfying. It's high in healthy fat. They've been found to even have cognitive health benefits and other benefits too.
Okay. I do want to bring that, I was reading at the International Journal of Health Sciences in 2018. There was an, article came up. We have a question. Please tell about black seed oil. So, let's talk about this and then I will go back to my
Okay.
point.
Okay, so yeah, black seed oil. I'm sure now it's been definitely a hot topic question. Right before Ramadan, I had an interview with the Dean Show, and the whole topic was focused on the black seed and the benefits of the black seed. And subhanallah, I can't even count how many people messaged me or emailed me or clients who asked me, "Well, how can I take black seed? Is it good? Is it that? Is it?" But generally, black seed oil, and it's one of the sunnah superfoods I cover in my book. I talk about how to take it, how to buy the oil, because unfortunately a lot of the oil today is not all pure, the same way with olive oil and other oils. So you want to make sure that you're getting, if you're going to consume the oil, to look for 100% cold pressed black seed oil, and make sure there's no other preservatives, no other chemicals, as there's no need for it. It's unnecessary. And then taking black seed itself also has benefit. If somebody, because the oil is very strong, it has a pungent taste, you can take it in capsule form. Not all capsules and not all supplements are the equal. So if somebody wants a specific brand or recommendation, they can visit my website. I do share different companies that I trust myself, and I always recommend to clients, so they can see that under resources on my website. But generally, black seed oil has a lot of benefits. It boosts your immune system. It helps you to lose weight. It helps with hair loss, and the list goes on and on. It has so many, subhanAllah, as the Prophet ﷺ reminds us, that in the black seed is a cure for everything except death. There are so many health benefits that modern research is talking about today with the black seed. So definitely, as much as you can, allow yourself to consume it. Let your kids consume it too. But it's just recommended that don't give, pregnant women should not consume the seeds or the oil itself. So make sure that you keep that in mind. And it also interacts with certain medications. So for example, diabetes medication. So be very careful of your condition. Make sure that you ask your doctor before starting any new supplement, anything new. Keep those points in mind, inshallah.
Okay, thank you so much. Amir Hamza said, thanks for sharing. Please share your book link with us. Yes, we will be, by the end of the show, we will be sharing the link. Thank you for sharing your information, Noor. Should we use it every day?
So yeah, I'd recommend generally for anyone with I would recommend it daily. Taking 1 teaspoon of oil is good, and then if you were to take the seeds, then even taking 1 to 3 teaspoons is completely fine, inshallah ta'ala.
Yeah. So I know that in Pakistan, with the coronavirus, they were saying that they were actually using black seed as, one of the intervention with corona virus. And they were putting like 2 to 3 tablespoons in the hot water. And, throughout the day, that's what they were drinking. Now, I do want to ask one question, because that I have done it, black seed oil. I travel to Canada quite often because Darul Islam is there and the books are from there. So there was a black seed oil, but and I use it on my salad. And as you said, that it's very pungent. So somebody told me that you can put it in your, inhale from your nose. And Noor, I'm telling you, when I took it, it was very strong, and it gives me very strong reaction. I start gagging. So
Yeah.
the best way is to just take it from your mouth, or sometimes,
Yeah.
in your ear, or put it in your ear holes, or no? What would you
Yeah. So
recommend?
So my advice is, if you find the taste too strong, because I had many clients, sometimes even friends, who ask me, I can't take the oil, but I really want the benefit, especially with, like you mentioned, the recent virus and such. So my advice is to take it in supplement form. So you can take the oil, not the seed, take the oil in a supplement form. You can find it, there's a few brands that I trust, because there are many brands out there that you really can't trust. But there's a few good brands that it's pure oil. There's no other, unhealthy preservatives or harmful chemicals in there. And it makes it so much easier. You just, you don't have to worry about the strong taste, or having to get, someone even told me how they gagged from the taste of how strong it is. They're not able to swallow it. So that would be my advice. If you can't handle the oil, then at least take it in supplement form. That way you reap the benefit, inshallah.
Yeah. And actually, there's a follow-up question that Amir Hamza is asking. Any brands that you recommend for the oil? And can children take it too? Do you recommend any oil that can help with reducing stress or anxiety?
So for the first question, in terms of recommendations for the oil, you can visit my website. It's on the bottom bar, nutrition.com, and then go to resources. I have so many different products for honey, for black seed oil, for black seeds of different brands I do trust, and you can find 2 different oils on there. And then, yes, children can take black seed oil as well. They can take the black seed. If you feel like the oil is too strong for your children and they can't take supplements, then my advice is and you can find this recipe in my book, and this is the recipe that my parents, may Allah bless them, used to make for us. It's a mixture of the black seed ground with honey, and it tastes good. It tastes sweet. Children will enjoy it. That's what I ate in my childhood, and subhanAllah, it was an easy way to take it. So that'd be my advice if your child is having a hard time taking it, because the oil is very strong in taste. And I'm not sure how many children would actually, enjoy the taste.
Yes. So I want to, remind our audience that it's such a blessing that, Noor, she, beside being a holistic healer, she also have written down books, and, everything is in her book. So please, follow up and go on her website. And I myself went today, and, you will get so much information by getting the book. Everything is in it. It's so I'm placing the order too.
Yeah, they can find the books on my website. If you go to my website, you can find all my books on there, and it takes you to Amazon, or you can just search it in Amazon, Sunnah Superfoods. Either way.
Okay. So the reason that I was talking about that International Journal of Health Sciences in 2018, they an article came about links between the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam recommended food and disease management, and a view in the light of modern superfood, that whatever he recommended, it's actually been proven by the modern science. The superfood like dates, pomegranate, grapes, black seeds, fig, and olives, and you have talked about those in your books. So I want to know from you, Noor, in one idea, that what makes you believe in that whatever sunnah items or food that our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to eat, in those days the times were different, they were versus now, and how much from so many hundreds and thousands of years from then to now, it's still so successful.
Yeah, subhanAllah. And it never fails to, subhanAllah, surprise me when I see an article come out of, for example, when I was writing my book back in 2015, and I remember coming across one modern researcher, a non-Muslim, and he was talking about how the black seed, he said the black seed has, there are 630 peer-reviewed studies about the black seed, and he mentioned how not a lot of people know it yet. It's not really popular in the West. And he mentioned it's as if it has a cure for everything except death. And I was like, subhanAllah, it's like you took the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and yet they had no research back then. They weren't able to sit and look at the compounds and the complexity of the food, subhanAllah, like we do today, or the benefits even, and be able to test it the way we do today. So that's something to keep in mind. Or for example, the honeybee, how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions the honeybee in the book, in the Quran. And it comes to prove, and it should give us conviction. We should have conviction. We should have full yaqeen that anything Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says has a cure in it, or the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam recommends for healing, we shouldn't have any doubt. But of course, when we do see the research come out and talk about, for example, the honeybee and the miraculous way that honeys make bee even, and how it's something Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions, how it's a honeybee and it's a female, it's referred to as a female in the Quran, and how modern research also recognizes that it's the honeybee, and the way the stomachs and fi butuniha that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala refers to, it has multiple bellies. And today research finds also that the honeybee has multiple stomachs, subhanallah. And the way the honey comes in varying colors, right? مختلف ألوانه, that it comes in varying colors, and فيه شفاء للناس, that in it is a cure for the people, subhanallah. So that's something to keep in mind, that we don't have to wait for research to come out and tell us something's healthy. When we see in the Quran, when we see in the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we absolutely shouldn't doubt it. And look at how many years the honeybee continues to make honey. And although today, of course, you find honey that's not pure, and most of the honey, has added sugar, goes through ultrafiltration, it's watered down, it's not in the best state, but the real pure honey has so many benefits for us, subhanallah. Physically, cognitive health as well. So that's something to, keep in mind whenever you're reading a hadith or an ayah and you come across the different benefits of the food. It's a reminder how divine the Quran is, and how the Prophet ﷺ is truly the last and final messenger, and how his message was so divine.
Yes, subhanallah. And thank you for educating our audience and all of us. It's each time, it's just such a beauty, and it gives us that reconfirmation psychologically, socially, that we are so I would have to say that so lucky to be born as Muslims, and practicing, and under that blessing that it came in Quran. And as you just said it, that how many thousands of years ago the wisdom is already written in there.
Yeah, subhanallah.
Yes. So I wanted to ask you about it's in your lectures, it says 30 days holistic transformation. So talk about that.
So, I offer different programs. I have a 3-month program, a 6-month program, a 1-year program as well, for someone looking for long-term results or trying to, reverse a chronic condition they have. But I also offer, a 30-day program. And, basically what this program is, we go through, depending on the person, and every single client I've had in my past has a completely different, meal plan, different recommendations, because every individual is different. It depends on your health history, the medication that you've taken in the past, your health goals, all these different factors come in the picture. And we basically go through 30-day way of naturally transforming yourself. So it's not, none of my programs are short-term, meaning any client I always tell them from the beginning, this is not a short-term diet. I'm not giving you a meal plan to lose weight for 30 days and then go back to eating cheeseburgers and French fries. No, It's actually that you can eat your favorite cheeseburger, you can have your brownies, but let's make it with clean ingredients. Let's, instead of using these oils, let's use this oil. Instead of, having this type of sugar, why not use this type of sugar? So I help every individual, depending on their condition, reverse their chronic pain, or, let's say they're on allergy medication constantly. I help them to look at the root cause of that. And, subhanAllah, just transform their health with different tips that they can take outside the 30 days or outside the 3-month program. And that's something really important to keep in mind, because today so many people struggle with dieting because it's constantly short-term diet. It's, I'm going to count points or count calories for just 2 weeks, and then I'm going to go back to my old habits. So that's something I really help focus on with my clients. And then I also offer one-time consultations. Sometimes someone just has questions. They want to, they have different health questions. They have a concern. They just want quick advice. So I offer one-time 15-minute consultations as well. And I try my best to give them as many recommendations as possible during that time.
Oh, okay. Awesome. So for everyone who's out there, get your 50-minute consultation, then. And the thing that I love that, you said that it's not like all size fit, everyone.
Yeah.
You're basing it on an individual basis. So that just right there shows that, that it's based on each person, because each person is different. Every human being is different and having its own, symptoms and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, the next question Amir Hamza is having, Noor, anything in diet you recommend to keep our immunity good during this COVID-19 COVID-19 time.
Yeah. So that question, subhanAllah, I gave 2-hour lectures, workshops on this topic, throughout Ramadan and right before it, with COVID and with everyone worrying about that. Definitely, there's so much to talk about. If I were to give a really quick, short advice, it's to avoid processed food as much as possible, avoid sugar. These all destroy your immune system. And then having things, like the black seed, having even honey, manuka honey, is also a better type of honey that has more healing benefit. And then eating healthy fruits, vegetables, anti-inflammatory food, olive oil, having lemon juice, all these natural foods, subhanAllah, just having a natural whole food diet, avoiding processed food. This in of itself, things like garlic and onions, which I also talk about in my book, all together, inshallah ta'ala, help to strengthen the immune system and to prevent different conditions.
Okay, subhanAllah. So the next question that I have is, let's talk about, infertility and how that can be helped, because, you have mentioned that in your expertise.
Yeah. So that's also something that's very, based on case by case. Every single individual is different. The causes can be different. It can be due to, so many different things. It can be years of, stress, or being overweight or obese also can have a role, or hormonal imbalance, which is one of the most common. And so it's really important, whatever the condition is, whether it's infertility or it's food intolerance or food allergies, to always look at the root cause instead of quickly rushing to get medication or get all these different, remedies people try first. Look at the root cause and try your best to see, how can I fix that naturally. Hormonal imbalance, for example, that's one very common, cause of infertility. Has a lot of natural, supplements. There's herbs out there that one can take. Following certain diet, avoiding certain things too, can play a role. So, that would be my take on that. It's definitely very case by case, though.
Okay. So we are coming very close to our end time, and we didn't even realize how 1 hour just flew. So I want to have, last comments and last messages from you before we can take any last comments.
So, if I were to share one thing for everybody listening, it would definitely be to go back, whatever condition you're dealing with, whether you want to lose weight or whether you're already healthy, it's the reminder that the Prophet ﷺ tells us, نعمتان مغبون فيهما كثير من الناس الصحة والفراغ, that there are two blessings which many people lose. They are health and free time for doing good. So whether you're healthy now or you're trying to stay healthy or you're hoping to, reverse a condition you're dealing with, it's to realize that it's such a blessing, and to constantly we have to do our part. So we have to, we want to get, for example, we want to get off medication for allergies. Then what are we doing differently? Are we going to consume food that's affecting our allergies? Or are we going to not eat a healthy diet or not take, for example, multivitamins when it can be doing our body better? And, subhanAllah, also going back to a whole food diet. If you were to walk away with just one advice, it's to go back to a whole food diet. And, in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, Ya ayyuhan nasu kulu mimma fil ardi halalan tayyiba, that all mankind eat whatever's in the earth that's lawful and that's good. And lawful is obvious, eating halal. So you're avoiding pork, gelatin, alcohol, all these different things. You're not feeding your children marshmallows that have pork gelatin. That's the halal aspect. But you might be wondering, what's tayyib? And it's translated as good, but really it's more than that. Imam Ibn Kathir rahimahullah says that طيبا أي مستطابا في نفسه غير ضار للأبدان ولا للعقول. That tayyib, that this tayyib, when the food is tayyib, it's that which does not harm you physically nor mentally. So when you see research come out talking about sugar affecting your cognitive health or your immune system, it might be halal. Those marshmallows that are labeled halal might be okay. They might not have pork in them. But the question is it tayyib? Am I really feeding my child something that's going to help them physically and mentally, or is it going to be destroying that? So that would be my advice. Whatever you're dealing with, wherever you are in your health state, go back to halal and go back to tayyib. And it's never too late. Don't think, what, I ate this for years, it's okay, it's too late, I'm old. It's never too late to go back.
It's never too late. One more question I'm getting here, that, if you are vegetarian and vegan, then everything should be good with you. Why do I still feel weak and unhealthy, although I eat healthy food?
So with all honesty, and like, although everyone's case by case, everyone has different reasoning for such, but in general, and if you look through my book, I don't usually and generally recommend a vegan diet. And one reason is because a lot of the nutrients, the B vitamins, the niacin, folate, all the vitamins that you find in meat, you will not find, even if you find it in protein sources or non meat sources, vegetarian sources. It doesn't have the same effect in your body. The way your body absorbs the B vitamins from meat or from chicken or from lamb or from the meat products is not the same. And I know it takes us into the question, well, all the meat today has hormones, it has antibiotics, it has, it's harmful, it's making people obese and unhealthy. So my advice is, and you can find different tips in my book, but generally go look for grass-fed beef, look for grass-fed meat, look for chicken that's free of antibiotics, free of hormones. And you don't have to have big portions. You don't have to have chicken and meat at every single meal. It's okay to have a vegetarian lunch and have salad. There's no harm in that. But also having meat sparingly, if you find it's so hard for you, maybe you don't like eating it, have it throughout the week, maybe twice a week. But to eliminate it completely, usually does cause fatigue, and it also has been found to cause other health situations. Wallahu alam.
Okay. And what do you think about fish? Because now with the fish, the new science has a different aspect on pregnant women should not be having red fish, like salmon, which has higher in mercury. So what kind of fish would you recommend then?
Yeah, so salmon would actually be one of the fish, especially if you're getting it wild caught. So my advice when it comes to seafood in general is make sure it's wild caught. It's its environment, the way it's the raised. For example, you're looking at other fish too, tuna, all these different things. Tuna tends to be high in mercury. You want to make sure that you're looking for wild caught, as this helps ensure that you're not getting the low genetically modified feed that's given to seafood today. Unfortunately, you want to avoid things like tilapia. Tilapia is not a natural fish. It's genetically modified. It's farm raised. And looking for clean sources. So salmon would actually be one of the fish I do recommend. It's very high in omega-3 fatty acids, and unlike king mackerel, unlike other types of fish that are extremely high in mercury, and it's not healthy for anybody, whether it's young children or someone pregnant or even any healthy adult. It's something I would really recommend limiting as much as possible. Having things like albacore tuna, making sure if you're getting your tuna canned, that it's not, full of soybean oil or canola oil or all these other ingredients you might find in there. There's so many options you can find with healthy, clean tuna. Having it, throughout the week, 3 times a week, having salmon as well, is something I would recommend. It has benefits for cognitive health and other benefits too.
Okay, so most of our audience is usually South Asians, and they highly depend on fish, and most of their fish is actually farm raised. They would actually pay more money to go to their local bodegas, which is specifically from that country. And so I guess that's not a healthy choice to do. It's better to pick up fish from seafood, which is from actually maybe in our case Atlantic Ocean, that we get from fresh sea market. Is that what you're recommending?
So yeah, just looking at so every fish, depending on what kind of fish, but just making sure that it's wild caught, making sure that it's sustainable, the way it's raised, the way the feed of the fish as well. That's something else that's really important to keep in mind. Definitely, that's something. My advice is to look for a wild caught as much as you can.
Okay. So I know we're coming very close to our program. There are a couple of other people who has joined. Bhuiya Mohammed, he's from Bangladesh. He has joined. Sayyid Zulfikar Hussain, thank you for watching. Last question from Amir Hamza I'm going to take. He's saying, Noor, do you offer weight loss education or program too?
Yeah, I do. My 3-month program, even the 6-month program, both of those can be the 1-year program. It's definitely something that I had many clients come for.
Okay, so because my connection is through psychology, so my question would be to you is, there was another question about anxiety and depression. Do you think there's a link with food and anxiety and depression?
Yeah. So while I'm not any licensed psychologist, I don't get into the aspect, of course, of healing or curing anything of that aspect. But
Mhm.
generally, absolutely. And I did give a 2 hour class on this topic back in April or March about the effects of food on our psychology and how absolutely the food that we eat, the diet, the stress, the lifestyle, the sleep, all of these different factors affect us psychologically. So having, for example, as I mentioned earlier, a very healthy fat, so eating a lot of healthy fats like olive oil, avocados, walnuts, salmon, all these different natural fats, butter even, versus having a very high carb, very high sugar has been linked to causing or increasing one's depression or increasing different cognitive decline conditions as well. So definitely diet plays a role in our psychology, and it really goes back to the concept that our body is all one. It works in harmony. So the food we eat affects our hormones, it affects our digestion, it affects our sleep, it affects our energy, it affects us also cognitively.
Okay. Thank you so much, Noor. This completes our 1 hour, and it went really fast. Thank you so much for, educating us from inside out on our body, and telling us the body is not just, it's mind and soul, and it's inside out for the whole, nice explanation. And for viewers, please go to Noor's website and take a look at her books. There's a superfood for baby A and Z, then Sunnah superfood for kids. And please go ahead. Noor, I'm going to let you talk about your book. I know we are a little over time, but I would want you to explain about your books, please.
Yeah. So again, the 4 health books I have. You can see them in the back. Sunnah Superfoods. Then I have Sunnah Superfoods for kids. It's a fun activity book. It also has a lot of educational, different topics on health, the importance of taking care of their body. It has a lot of kids-friendly recipes like macaroni and cheese, brownies, chicken tenders, all these things that your kids might love, but made with clean and healthy ingredients that won't affect them on so many different levels. And then I also have the 2 baby books, the Sunnah Superfoods for A to Z. It's an Arabic book, so you can find different fruits and vegetables in Arabic, going through every single alphabet on different pages. And then also in English, the A to Z of eating healthy, Sunnah Superfoods for baby. You can find all these books on Amazon, or you can just go to my website, nutrition.com, and go to my books. You can find them all there. It'll take you directly to the link, inshallah ta'ala. And then it'll be in your mailbox soon, and you can, inshallah ta'ala, benefit and transform your health and the health of your family.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Noor. Jazakallah khair. And thank you for our audience for joining. And please take advantage of her. It's a gift. I really have you as you're an asset to the society to, guide us in the right way. And the best part is that you're guiding us in the way of Sunnah, the right way of doing it. And it gives such a satisfaction to me personally. So thank you so much for joining us. Yeah.
Jazakallah
And,
khair. It's my honor. Thank you so much for having me.
you're very welcome. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you.